Hello again. Indian royalty has seen some very powerful women. We've seen trailblazers. We've seen women who've championed women's rights, very modern in their thinking. This was a lot of stories that we heard about in the previous centuries. Of course, in the 21st century, India is not ruled by royals, but there are still many women in the Indian royalty who continue to break barriers every single day, and with me is one such personality, Maharani Radhikaraje Gaekwad. Welcome to She Shakti.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you, Palki.
You've said in the past that being a royal is not just about wearing a tiara. There's a lot of work that goes into it as well. How would you define women empowerment in the context of your journey?
I think one doesn't realize it, but being born a girl in India even today, and in many parts of the world, is itself a disadvantaged position for the child and for the mother. Because very often, even today, a mother will be apologetic for bearing a daughter. And that is the truth. That is the truth that many of us have seen closely, or witnessed it, or been in some way compromised by that. So when you use the word empowering, yes, we do need to, I think, as a community, stand up for the voices of women. But again, empowering for me is giving a position of power to someone else to enable you. I think empowering needs to come from an inclusion, a sense of community building. I think women should be able to find that with co-women, because we do have a sense of community, we do have a sense of intuition, compassion, strong bonding. I think we really need to build that, Palki, as women for each other, to have that safe space, to be able to carry each other along, you know. So we must celebrate the journeys of women who are achieving, who have a voice, who are who have a franchise. But at the same time, we have to have the conscious quality of carrying the rest of us together. So for me, it's, I think, more about awakening than enabling. I think we all need to, as women, recognize the power within us and connect at that humane level with each other.
You know, I should tell you that when we were working on this event and looking at who should be taking the stage, we were talking about women who made their mark in various fields, and your name was discussed. And I think all of us agreed that when a woman can use her agency and her, for want of a better word, privilege or position to help others, then that should be celebrated. You know, we are saying the queen of the masses, and it's not very often that you see someone in your position to be able to empathize, to be able to see that this is where work needs to be done. So what is it that inspires you to take up the causes, the very diverse causes that you do, and how do you connect with the people that you obviously do with and touch their lives?
I think, Palki, because as I was mentioning earlier to you, I grew up as a bureaucrat's daughter. So it was a very egalitarian atmosphere that I, grew up in. Of course, I did come from a place of abundance. I would say about abundance, and I came from a similar royal background. So it was there, but it was a very natural transition for me to balance both these aspects of life. But as I was growing, I did realize that the place that I do hold, which you mention as privilege, it does give me a sense of a position, a voice that people do take you seriously. They do give you an ear. They are willing to sit and the history that our families have had, royal families, that there has been a relationship with the people always. One doesn't now imagine it because we see it from a point of view of glamour and not of duty. But till independence, there was this real symbiotic relationship between the Praja and the Raja. And that is you see it still, and that's why you have royalty in politics doing as well as they do, because that leadership is natural to them, and the intuition to trust the person who has dynastically or generationally been in that position of power and served the people is a natural connection. So yes, today we say that, okay, you're in a position of privilege and how do you understand what the people are feeling? But I think royalty have always had an ear to the ground. And in my case, because of my egalitarian upbringing, I have been able to understand that I am in a position where I can speak up for those who don't have that voice.
You make it sound so effortless. You've put it so nicely. As the introduction said, you were a journalist, and then you're doing so many more things beyond journalism. But when you got married and married into a royal family, I think marriage is a big decision for any woman, especially if you are going to be, there are certain expectations. You have to play a certain role, I guess. I can only imagine. Did you at any point fear that you'll have to leave a part of your earlier identity to embrace this new one?
Of course. I did, Palki, because I come from a traditional background, and I was marrying into a traditional background. So it was like I've got this little bit of time before I get married to, live my dreams. And I was literally doing my master's degrees and working as a journalist, because I felt I had only a window of time to really be productive and achieve my dreams in any way. And then I would be in a very conventional setup and not be able to really work or be productive. So yes, I did have those notions. But fortunately for me, my in-laws and my family were very encouraging. So for me also, it was suddenly my horizon widened.
I know that it's a very busy time for you, and you've got some very big events coming up, and you've come all the way to Delhi just to be part of this. Why don't you tell our audience about the many, many causes that you have espoused, and what motivates you to do all those things? Many.
When I start narrating them, yes, they sound like many, but when you're doing them, when I'm involved with my activities, they just kind of are so seamless and such an extension of my life. So yes, I work with women. I work with skill building of women in an organization called Maharani Chimnabai Stri Udyogalay. I work with artisans in bridging artisans with the end consumer as well as with designers to bring in adaptability and in production of artisanal products. And I work with the LGBTQI community, giving them an opportunity to skill build and earn a livelihood with dignity. I also host the largest religious dance festival in the world, which is called the Navratri Garbas. Mine is called Lakshmi Vilas Palace Heritage Garba. It will be on National Geographic. Will be releasing a documentary on it on the 9th of October. I invite you all to see it. So that is again a space where we have a very strong presence of women and the LGBTQI community. I myself am involved in reviving 2 different textiles which were patronized by royal families. And I have an annual exhibition where I have artisans coming and selling their wares directly. So, yeah. Wow. And of course the museum, yes, we have a museum, so I'm involved in the restoration and conservation of Raja Ravi Varma's, amongst other art objects.
I think this calls for a round of applause. There's a lot of stuff. Okay, here's a question that I think I'm sure you've heard it before. What would you tell young women about how they should approach their lives? I don't want to ask you that question. What I want to ask you is that if you had the chance to sit down with your 20-year-old self who was starting off as a journalist, what would you tell her today?
I think what I would say is it's important to be fearless. I think when I was 20, I was still very much into the mindset of what would be expected of me. I think one tends to focus more on what society or family want from you, and you're not really understanding or vocalizing what you want. So I think self-belief is important, and the ability to take those chances, to feel that passion for things. Because with age, what happens is we all acquire, privileges which we don't want to then compromise on. But when you're young, you are fearless, you're willing to fight for what you believe in, and that passion that you can create, and the life goals that one can at that age have the energy to direct to. I think that's what I would say. I think just be more fearless and not worry about what society will judge you for.
I think that's very, very good advice. You talked about women helping other women. I think that's very important. We often talk about old boys networks. I think women should have more networks and should enable others. As a parent, as a leader, what do you think other parents and leaders should be doing to empower young women and daughters?
Palki, I can only speak from my own experience. I come from a completely patriarchal, dynastic family where it's always the son or the firstborn son who inherits the gaddi or the position. I am a mother of 2 daughters, so I am navigating myself through a completely new mindset which is so traditional, and yet I have to bring in the modernity of looking at leadership from a completely different gender lens. So the only way one can do it is to lead by example. I think a lot of my conscious leadership comes from the fact that I must be a positive role model for my daughters, and to also pave the path for them by changing the mindset of the people who they're going to be working with. So I think as mothers of daughters, we can just create an environment which builds their self-confidence, which gives them a sense of self very strongly, because I think girls today are, that is being snatched away at such a young age by what television shows us, what social media shows us, what people expect from us, that a sense of self dissipates very quickly in girls. I think we should be able to, hold that together for our daughters.
Thank you very much, Maharani Radhikaraje Gaekwad. You've really inspired all of us with your words, and I must say you're a beautiful blend of tradition and modernity, and you give so much food for thought and so much for others that they can emulate. Thank you very much for being with us today.